Hello friends, welcome back to Geeky Sanjay. Today we are going to learn how to set up a project step by step in Java Spring Boot. I'll explain the important Maven dependencies needed to set up a basic project with a database. We will go through the folder structure of Spring Boot and learn about important configuration settings in the application properties. Finally, we'll create a demo API and test it in Postman. Let's get started. Let me explain the basic steps of how Spring Boot works to make it easier for you to follow along. So whenever we are creating any app in the Spring Boot, we will follow simple step. First, we will create all the model in models folder, including base model. Then first, we will create our controller. Inside of controller, we will create a method, and one more method with the same name we will create in the service file. So we will call the service file in the controller, and in the service file we will write our all logic, and service file is connected with the repository and models. So we will create object and get the data from the models, and we will connect using repository. We will save the data, and we have to filter something. We can filter from the repository and create an object and return to the controller, and controller create a response and it will return to the client side like a main method. So this is the basic flow of the Spring Boot. Now first, as you can see here, we have a step 1, create a project, download it and extract and open IntelliJ using file and projects. Okay, so the first step is here, we will create a Spring Boot project from the Initializer. For this, what we will do, we will open Spring Boot Initializer, and first we will select the Java, then we will use Maven. Any language you can use, but we are using language as a Java and project as a Maven. Spring Boot version 3.2.5. Group, we will write it down here, user, artifacts, user services, name user services. Whenever you write artifacts, it will take automatically name user services, and description simple auth app, and package name is created with the combination of group and artifacts. Next, we will choose the package jar. You can, if you want, you can choose bar also, but we are working, so we just choosing the jar. And the Java version we are choosing 17. Why we are taking 17? Because 17 version, if we will choose, then it will support minimum version of Spring Boot 3.0. So we will include the dependency. Normally click on here, add dependencies, and just type whatever you have to include. It will come, and just click and you can take it. So I have included 6 dependency here. I will explain one by one quickly. So first dependency is Spring Web. It is very important. Okay, and it is required because we are creating API and we are exposing the API and we are creating web app. So this is very much required library. Next, we are using Spring configuration processor. It is required to configure Spring Boot. Like whenever we are creating application.properties, inside of that we will configure our database and other JPA properties, which we will look after some time. Next, we have a Spring Data JPA. This is used for the SQL whenever we are connecting and creating automatically table and we are getting the data. This plugin will help us. This dependency will help us. Next, we have a Lombard. The Lombard is used for the getter and setter. Normally, we have to create multiple getter and setter. So for creating the getter and setter, we will use this Lombard. It will automatically on runtime create all the getter and setter, whatever property is there, private properties, it will create for that. Next, we have a Spring Boot dev tool. This is required to be run our local environment. With the help of this, we can test and run our app on the local. Okay. Next, we have a MySQL driver. MySQL driver is required to be connected with the MySQL. So we are using MySQL here. That's why I taken a MySQL driver. If you are using another DBMS, you can just use that driver. So this is our basic setting for the project, and we can click here generate button and it will give you the zip file which you can take, extract on your local and open in the IntelliJ. Let's switch to IntelliJ and we will see there by importing this project. So here I open the IntelliJ and I have a IntelliJ Ultimate version, and I will give you, I just let you know the good feature what I will use for this Ultimate IntelliJ. So first we will open our project. Simply click here, open, and select whatever project you downloaded and extracted it. We already extracted it, okay, and here we are selecting the POM file and we will open it and open as a project. So whenever you are opening it, we will open a POM file. Why we will open the POM file? Whenever you are opening the POM file, that time it will install all the dependency whatever you included in the project. So that's why whenever you are opening a project, use the POM file to open it. So I just walk you through this folder structure, what it will include in that project. You can see first we have a data, okay, it will use for the data of the our project, okay, and here we have a Maven libraries, whatever we will install it will included here. And now we have to work on this src. In the src you can see we have a two folders, main and test. Inside of the main we have a java and we have a com.user.user auth. So we will work on this com.user auth, okay. Here you can see we have a user auth application. This is our main file which will run our project. So whenever you are creating any file, any folder, you just create inside of this directory with this file. If this file in another directory, then you will get the error. So keep in mind you have to keep all the files here only. So here we are in the IntelliJ and you can see here the resource folder, and here we have a application.properties. So we paste all the content here. So by default you can get it because this is the name of application and this content we already copy from there and paste it here. So the first you can see data source dot URL JDBC MySQL 127.0.0.1.3.3.0.6. So this is the default URL of your MySQL which we have to write on all project whenever you are connecting with the MySQL. And you can see at the end this is our database name. And the next you can see here we have a data source username. So this is the default root name of MySQL. Whenever we install the MySQL we have to give some username and this is the default username we will use. Next we have a default password for this root users. So I am using this. You can use or you can keep blank whatever is there. Next we have spring.jpa.show SQL true. So what it will do whenever we make it to true, that time whenever we are running any API, that time it will show all the details in the console related to the API. Okay. It will very helpful for debugging. Next we have a Spring JPA Hibernate DDL auto create. So it has a different version. I am using here create. Instead of you can use also update is there and create drop is there. So I will tell you quickly what these are. First is the create. Whenever we are starting our application, it will create a database. Okay. So every time whenever you are restarting, it is recreating your database. Okay. Next we have a update instead of the create. So what update will do? Update create once first time, and next time whenever you are changing anything here in your files, okay, like you have a class in the model. Whenever you are changing something here, it will change in database based on the date. Only changes it will update, rest it will keep the same. Next we have a create drop. So what create drop will do? Create simply here you can create and drop. This is you have. So what it will do? First it will create, and whenever you are stopping your project, it will drop it. Okay. So every time whenever you are starting your project, it is creating a database, and whenever you are closing your application, it is dropping it. So we are keeping it create here. And next you have a server.port 8080. Okay. Now here we have a basic configuration which we will use in this application.properties. Here we have a one facility. We can connect our database from this ultimate version because this facility is not available in the community edition. So as you can see in the right side we have a database option where we directly connect. We don't require any other software to do it. One place in the right side we can open the database. Next we can click here, go to the view. Inside of the view you can see in the tool windows and here we have database name. So we can open from here, or either we can open from the right side. So I'm clicking here. You can see this database open. Now we have to connect with this source. So what is the source? Source can be anything, any DBMS like MySQL, SQL, Oracle. So I'm using MySQL, so I will connect with the MySQL. Simply click on this button plus, click on the data source and click on the MySQL. If you are not finding here, you just search below. So after clicking on the MySQL, you will get this pop-up. Inside of this pop-up, we have to only set the username and password. Rest we will keep the default. As you can see, host, local host, we can keep like this. Port we have 3306. This we will use, and authentication type user and password, and username we will write default username we are using root. Okay, same we are using in our application.properties file. Next, here we have a password, so we will write our default password whatever we have written in our file. Okay, next we will test this connection by clicking here, and this URL you can see jdbc mysql :/localhost 3306. We already put this in our application.properties file as a database URL, and now you can see this connection is succeed here. So we connected with database. We click here OK. So now it is connected, and whatever required plugin, it will automatically, you can see here preparing for the connection. It will install all the Java plugins whatever is required to connect with database. So as you can see here, it is loading here. After loading, we will create a database and start working on it. So as you can see, we already connected with the localhost. Now we will create a database. Simply right click on it, create on new, and you can create a schema, and whatever schema name you want, you can put it here. Okay, so I'm just keeping this demo schema underscore name, and I'm making it okay. So now you can see the schema name is created. Simply I will go to application.properties. I will change the name here. As you can see, we have created successfully our database using IntelliJ IDEA. So you can create only if you have a ultimate version. This is the paid version which I am using it here. So if you want to use this ultimate version, I already created one video how you can activate and take a license. I will show you that video in, I just put video link in the description. Please watch it and active your subscription if you are from Scalar. Now if you don't have this ultimate version, then we can do it using the community edition. For that, normally you have to do the MySQL workbench, and with the workbench also you can do the same thing. So I will open the workbench and I will show you how you can create it. So as you can see here, we have a MySQL workbench. Here simply click on this and put your database name, auth services, and click on the apply. Now this is created. As you can see here left side, auth services created. Currently it is empty, there is no table, and we will connect with our project and we will see whenever we will create all the models and all table created automatically inside of this. So this is now simply you created your database from the workbench. So I showed you two ways to create database. First from the IntelliJ IDEA. Second is the workbench. We have some notation here, race controller. So we will use this race controller whenever we are using in the Spring Boot. So we will use the REST controller. If you are creating inside of the Java, you have to use the controller. We have a public class hello controller. So we are using here get mapping. At get mapping annotation, you have a at post mapping annotation, at put. Okay, so we have a different type of annotation and we will use based on our requirement. So this annotation provided by the Spring Boot framework, as you can see here in the top. Next, we have created a method. Whenever we are calling this hello API, this method will run, and whatever we are returning from here, it will show to the browser. You can see we have a default file user auth application. Simply click on this and run our application. You can see below our application is building. After building the application, we will just go there in the Postman bake and check our application is working or not. So we will test this in the Postman first, and we will see our application is working or not. So here you can see we are in the Postman. Here you can see we have this API, and simply click on here HTTP localhost 8080 hello, and click on this send. This is sending the request, and if we will get hi, it means our API is working fine. So as you can see here, we got the response hi. So this API is successfully working. Now application is working. That's all for today's video. If you learn something from this video, make sure you hit a like button and press the subscribe button, and follow me on Instagram, and check out my website geekysanjay.com, link in the description. Thank you.